G'day, campers. I hope you're having yourself a terrific Thursday. It's 9 o'clock. It's the 1st of October. It's Andy here with another Ask Andy Anything show. And I tell you what, from the moment that I interacted with this individual, I kind of knew, well, one, she had to be on this show at some stage rather quickly. But two, she's got something fairly special to share with the world, and I'm really, really glad that she's going to share it with us. We've got Jen Trevorrow.
Hi, guys.
Is that how I pronounce it, Jen?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yep. Jen Trevorrow, she is a video and on-screen coach, but more so, she's a massive advocate towards people's confidence and growing their confidence and all that sort of really awesome stuff that can help you not just in your business side of things, but pretty much across the board. Jen T, how are you?
I am fantastic, and thank you so much for letting me jump in and give all of your viewers some value tonight. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, look, I think we're all just as excited to have you here, to be honest, Jen. And look, feedback right from the get-go, when we connected on Zoom last week or whenever it was, the energy that you broadcast through the screen is very, very obvious. It's very real, and you don't even have to say a hell of a lot for me to realize that you really do know what you're doing, and you also walk your talk, which is massive. All right. Well, thanks ever so much for coming on the show. Now, gang, first things first, if you want to ask a question to Jen, please send me a text message. You can text us on 0451 085 or you can obviously post a comment in the section below. First things first, though, gang, as always, I want to know how your day has been. Out of 10, post your scores on the doors in the comment section. Jen, how's your day been out of 10, please?
It's been really, really good. Probably only an 8, though, because my husband and son aren't doing too well health-wise. So I've had to be a little bit of nurse on top of businesswoman today, working from home. But I'm feeling fine, so I'm okay.
What is it? It's not a bit of that dreaded man flu, is it?
No, and it's definitely not the Rona. So we're clear from both of those.
Very, very good. Very good. Gang, post your scores for us. Let us know if you've had any success or not. Robbie Osimo, who is the director of Harcourt's Ratter & Co., he's popped in and said he's a 9.5. There's a hell of a lot of metro agents that are on a bit of a high right now for obvious reasons. I think the fact that they've been allowed to go outside, I think, has been a start of the 10, right? Jen, you're based in regional, though. Is that right?
I am, and I don't want to rub it in, but did go out for dinner last night, so sorry.
It was your birthday, though, I believe.
It was my birthday, and we don't go out very often. We've been pretty much following all of Melbourne's guidelines, but yeah, last night we made an exception, which was lovely.
Very, very well. Many happy returns for your 21st. I hope it was a wonderful one. I really hope it was. Now, Jen, I'm super excited to have you on the show. Purely, I mean, look, not only because you're clearly a top chick, but also because you are really quite gifted in this whole space of, presenting on screen and in front of videos and so on and so forth. Because I've had a look at a high level lot of your stuff and what have you, and the whole video thing, and especially since Corona's kicked off and everybody's doing everything by Zoom and Google Teams and all this sort of stuff, it's obviously become a lot more prominent in society generally. I mean, video marketing's been around for yonks and really is the first thing that a lot of people should be doing. But Zoom has definitely brought it to everybody's attention, right? So tell us, but before we get stuck into some real intricacies of what you do, give us a bit of a highlight reel as to who you are, what your background is, and then we'll get stuck into digging into that knowledge of yours.
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one. You're throwing me a hard question to start with, Andy. So I actually come from the beauty industry. I started working in the salon when I was 14, and I really fell in love with when you could see someone look in the mirror and you could see that they felt beautiful. And I worked a lot on photography and film shoots, and I really noticed that the way people were with their self-talk and their mindset walking into them heavily affected the outcomes. And then I was offered an opportunity, but I had to get up and speak. And I've been a classical musician. I started learning piano when I was 3.5, but I was petrified of performing. And I remember I was probably in about year 8, year 9. I was side of stage with the string orchestra about to play in a competition with my violin. And I was so nervous that I was like, how am I going to get out of this? And I purposely turned my tuning peg and turned it and turned it. And it was about 2 minutes before we had to go on stage that I snapped a string. And it wasn't just any string. I snapped the hardest string to snap. I snapped my G string side of stage.
Great context, guys. We're talking orchestra, by the way.
Don't go the other way.
Yeah.
So I was really, really petrified of that being judged and not being enough and making mistakes. And I was stuck in that cycle of perfectionism. And the older I got, the worse it got. And then I remember I had to learn how to speak. And I'm a good talker one-on-one, but I always said that I could never get up and speak as me and show my real personality on stage or on video. So I went and got help, and it's amazing that public speaking is the number one fear people have, but only 7% of people actually do something about it. And so I was in that 7%, and I ended up becoming the MCP, a lead coach and trainer for a public speaking coach. And that's when I really fell in love with video, because being on video is so different to being on stage. And then before all of this happened, I looked at becoming a real estate agent, because I was like, well, if I could make someone feel beautiful, imagine selling them their dream home, and imagine, really being able to help people have these massive transitions in their life. And then it was just the wrong timing for me. So I found this whole new world, and I fell in love with being on video, because I was developing different ways of growing confidence for people, but also the transformation for my clients is huge. So it's all about being able to watch someone's journey grow. But video for me is such a powerful tool, because you cannot create the same amount of emotion with a photo as you can if you're talking to somebody. So it breaks down the geographical bounds, and there's some really cool things that you can do with it these days.
I think that aside from anything else, your timing in going forth with this is absolutely impeccable with everything that's gone on. The whole thing of being in front of camera, being on screen, all that sort of stuff. There's been a hell of a lot of people that have been really pushed hard into doing all of this because of work interactions and all that sort of jazz, and almost had to, really push to one side their self-consciousness and all that sort of stuff in order to just interact with people now, right? Tell me, in the initial stages of what you've been doing and on this trip of supporting people conquer those sorts of things. Tell me some of the real big concerns that people have had when it comes to getting on screen, getting on video.
I think that the fear of judgment would be number one. Fear of people that you know in your circle seeing you and maybe judging you, but also people forgetting their content, not looking good. And I think that just give me some thumbs up if you have been on a Zoom chat and you've seen someone not look so good, and they've got the angle of the camera all wrong, and they've got chins that you didn't even know that they had, and you see them straight up their nose.
Hey, look, we've just been growing them anyway, haven't we? By just sitting next to our pantry for 2 months, right?
Yeah, part of 2020. So yeah, I think it's a lot of it comes down to that whole self-talk. And that's the first thing that I usually will work on, is checking people's self-talk, because that's something that affects not only when we're presenting on video, but it affects everything that we have in life. And I was quite surprised. I had a few teachers come to me when they were first teaching online, and they were like, they're fine standing in front of a room full of students, but they couldn't turn their video on Zoom. And I was like, wow. And I think that the biggest thing with that, and for everyone who's wanting to utilize video, is if I'm on video, it's actually got nothing to do with me and everything to do with the people that I'm helping. So I take myself out of it and I just show up as me, with the mindset of who can I add value to today.
What's the difference? I like, you talk about that whole thing of, you said it's very different being on stage to being on screen. You talked about teachers really struggling going from a classroom to a Zoom. I mean, what do you think it is? Because it's all, you could sort of paint the whole self-judgment thing across both things, right? But what do you reckon the inherent differences are?
I think that because if you post a video on Facebook, like there's 3,000 years worth of video posted on Facebook every day. It's just like the numbers are mind blowing, but once it's there, and more people can see it.
Okay. So it's the fact that once it's there forever sort of thing. And that heightens the level of anxiety, right?
Yeah, I think that's, from what I've spoken to a lot of clients about, that's been one thing that's really come up. And if you're standing in a room full of people that may not have the same education and knowledge as you sort of have put yourself on a pedestal that you know more. Whereas when you're on video, especially on social, it's like your peers within the industry could be watching and judging as well.
And you have tripped up on one of probably the most inherent issues in the real estate space, is the judgment from people within the space. I think beyond any consumer feedback, I reckon that, and I know there'll be a bunch of people that will agree with me here, a lot of the reasons as to why people hold themselves back from going on wax, and getting on screen and doing their thing and what have you, has been that fear of judgment from their peers, from their counterparts in the space. And it prevents a lot of people from progressing in a really big way. Now, tell me, Jen, when we come around this, talk around all this self-talk sort of stuff, what are the things that you really try and get through to people? Because it's not just a case of saying, "Oh, you can do it." And give us a bit of practicality around this whole topic, because there's a lot of fluff that goes around it. I reckon you'd agree.
Yeah, just a little. I teach a lot of different techniques, and it's finding the right technique that works for you. But I would encourage you to just try things on and see how it goes. But if you're going in, we can use photos. If you're going in for getting your headshots done and you're sitting there going, I hate getting photos taken. I hate seeing photos of myself. I hate being in front of the camera. And then you've got to put on a smile. What's your smile going to look like? It's not going to be a really great smile. But if you're going into something like that and you're like, who am I going to help today? Whose problem am I going to solve today? It's completely different. And I always try to be my own best coach. So if I hear that little voice in my head doing, maybe it's imposter syndrome, little voice coming in or something like that that's sitting on one shoulder, I have a conversation with myself. And you're not crazy if you have a conversation with yourself, because we're all communicating with ourselves all the time. But I ask myself what evidence I have to support that.
Right.
And so I challenge those negative thoughts. And one other thing that I do is, a lot of people say I get really nervous. And when I think of nervousness, like, I don't know about you, Andy, but I feel it gets in my stomach, and I feel my stomach start churning, and then I get the heart palpitations. I might get a bit sweaty, a bit jittery, and all of that sort of thing. And but your body has the same physiological shift if you get really excited. So if I start feeling those nervous feelings coming on, I go, ooh, that could be a lot of excitement bubbling up in my stomach right now. Oh, my heart's starting to palpitate. I must be getting really excited. So we can play little tricks on our mind as well with that sort of thing, and we control our thoughts. So if you can change that word nervousness into excitement, you're going to get a completely different outcome.
Spot on. Absolutely. I've said the same thing from an auctioneering point of view so many times that those butterflies in your stomach, it's an anticipation that you're about to go rock and roll. And I've openly said the first auction that I don't feel that in my stomach is the first auction I'll cock up, because I'm taking it for granted. My body's not getting itself ready to act on at a different level. The adrenaline's not sort of getting produced, and all those sorts of things, like you said, physiological stuff that it's a very, very simple shift where you turn it from nervousness to anticipation. So for example, there's a number of people that are making moves between brands, or they're trying something new, or they're starting their own business in real estate or whatever right now. There's a bit of movement going on, and the amount of times I've heard from people, yeah, you know what, I'm really happy, but I'm really nervous at the same time. And it's a self-talk thing, right? And you can talk yourself into drama. It's the same with everything that's going on socials right now. If you want to keep complaining, guess what's going to happen in between your ears? You're just going to end up being a whinging bleeder. You're going to end up, you might as well go back home to the motherland. You know what I mean? And this
is coming from a poem, so
exactly. So I mean, when it comes to getting on camera and what have you, I mean, what sort of things? And this has been a question that has been asked, like, if someone's wanting to get started, get into getting on film and whatnot, they're finally going, look, I know I've got to do it. It is, let's face it, it is a basic requirement nowadays from a business point of view to get some video content together. And a question that came through on a text message, actually, what sort of easy wins, and what's the sort of basic sort of framework, both mentally and around you, that you can recommend, that so that people can at least start with a bit of confidence?
Yeah, I love Facebook and Instagram Live. And one reason for this, and this actually came up in a comment on LinkedIn, that someone did 62 takes to do a 1-minute video. And what happens is we're searching for that perfection. But if you're doing a Facebook Live, you've just got to keep going and keep going and keep going. And I love that about that, because you're showing up as you. And if you make a little bit of mistake, and the way I see it, when my son comes in or my dog's barking or something like that, I'm actually teaching my clients that it doesn't have to be perfect to be up there. So some of the ways to get comfortable in front of the camera would be to know about your lighting, know how to frame yourself. So if I was in a video, because I want to give you guys some value that you can implement straight away tonight. If you're in the middle of a landscape frame, you want to be in the middle 9th quarter. So if you think of like the Brady Bunch and there's the squares, we want to be in that middle piece, because we want the focus to be on us. We want to make sure we don't have a really messy or distracting background. We want to be complementary with our background. So just having these little bits and pieces all makes a difference. And even the way we stand can make a big difference. It was just before isolation first started. I was watching this video of a beautiful young real estate agent. She spoke very eloquently. She looked amazing. She was standing in the entry of this beautiful grand property. And the whole time she was talking, she had her legs crossed. And when you've got your legs crossed, you're unconsciously telling yourself and you're unconsciously telling your audience that you are not certain and you are not confident. So even the way that we stand, it's called speaker stance or standing grounded. So we have our shoulders rolled back, we have our feet hip width apart, and we're evenly weighted. This is what you would call in like martial arts or something like that, your balance and base. And when you're in balance and base, it's very hard to throw you off. But it's telling yourself, so it's telling your unconscious that you're really confident and certain, but it's also telling your audience that you are as well. So that would be a few little tips, but also having I always start with the end in mind for video. So I always think to myself, what is the main message I want to get across? We never want to have more than 3 main messages, no matter how long our presentation is, because we're going to start confusing our audience. But if I pick a topic, I'm going to have maybe an anchoring phrase or something like that, and they can be really grounding and really help with your confidence. So it's a saying that you say over and over that your audience gets familiar with, but it's something that you become known by. So I think that they would be some really great tips, but also having a clear structure for your content. I hear a lot of people say, once I get on camera, I just start waffling, and then I don't know how to sign off. So it's important to know, have your main talking points. Please don't read off your notes. You can tell straight away if you're reading, and it takes away a little bit of that authenticity. So you really want to trust that you know your stuff, and you do. You know your stuff, don't you? So it's about just trusting.
What about those teleprompters? You know, you can get those teleprompter things that go in front of the camera and whatnot. You're a big no-no for them?
I'm not a fan. Not a fan. And I saw a video a little while ago, and I'm like, I bet that they're reading that off a teleprompter. So I messaged them because I knew who they were, and they were. So what we want to make sure we're doing as well, and I think this is the number one tip for people, is knowing where to look. Because if I look at Andy, how does that feel for you? Does that look like I'm looking at you?
Exactly right.
So if I look at the camera, I think of my audience being in the camera because I'm making eye contact with them. So I think that that's a huge thing that I see some people like, you don't know what you don't know, but even just practicing looking at the camera. And if you want proof of this, go and take some selfies of yourself looking at the screen, looking at the camera, and you'll see a huge difference in connection.
Well, look, case in point, Mark Stores just commented there. I can see how camera focused Jen is. She's looking straight at it, looks very professional, like on cue. She didn't pay him to post that or nothing.
I'll pay you later.
Jen, like, I think you need to get plugged into the space a lot more. I think the auctioneering game would very much benefit from a lot of your expertise in this sort of field, because a lot of what is communicated, what's the stat? Was it 93% of what is communicated is done through everything except the words that come out your mouth?
Absolutely.
And the things that you were talking about then with respect to, you know, making sure that you're centered before you begin, making sure that you've got your posture ready to rock and roll so that you're there and you're powerful and you're ready to go. And very, very important, because the amount of times that I get asked to watch an auctioneering video, or I'm watching an auctioneer live, or whatever the case may be, because I'm a geek, and the amount of times that you feel that they've lost before they've even won. And it's massive, and it's absolutely massive, that sort of perception that you're putting out there. And then likewise, even if it's not live, the like property. I mean, how many property videos have you watched where you've cringed, Jen? You know, let's be honest here.
Yeah, I have, and I watch property videos all the time because I'm always checking out what's going on. And, you know, I really take my hat off to people who are at least giving it a go, because 73% of homeowners that were surveyed said that they were more likely to list with an agent using video. Yep. And, you know, listing videos get 403% more inquiries. It's not a case of maybe I'll do it. It's you have to. Like, you have to do it if you want to really grow your personal brand. But there's not just your listing videos you should be doing. Testimonial videos. If you have someone that has just, you know, you've got them a really great price for their property, or you've just found the perfect home for a buyer, Get those vendors on camera. There's a really easy, simple structure that I teach for testimonials. I've got a few different ones that I teach so you can have some different ones. But while they're in that state of just being blown away at how amazing you are, get them to do a testimonial. And then one of the hardest videos to get, because if you don't ask for them, then you're not going to get them. But even if you're trying to highlight a suburb and make the suburb really attractive and you're out for coffee, give the cafe a shout out. Sorry, soon when you're allowed in the doors, you can get a takeaway. But
all right.
Sorry, coming from Geelong.
Low blow.
No, I didn't mean it like that. But give them a shout out, because that's really good for your own credibility as well. But it's painting this whole picture. If you're down at a park or going for a walk along a river or something like that, do a quick video. Just, I wanted to check in with you, just say g'day, all of that. It adds to your credibility. And with there being so many people almost fighting for leads and fighting for listings and things like that, people buy people. People buy their agent. They don't buy just because you work for in particular real estate agency. They buy you. So give them your personality, give them what you want by showing them who you are.
100%. I've had we've had a couple of comments come through that I'll get you to comment on if we can, Jen. One which is absolutely in line with what we were talking about just before we came on air. We're about to start shooting self-promo videos, and we're all concerned about sounding authentic. Now, we were having a little bit of a pom moment about the word authenticity. I'm going to let you tee off on it first. What are your thoughts around Maxine's concern about sounding authentic?
So often when we want people to like us, we put on a mask, and everyone's mask can look very different. So my mask used to be the please like me, and I'd get really excited. I'm a pretty excitable person, but it would be like this out of control, loud, extroverted person. And it wasn't until that I was aware that it was a mask that I was wearing that I was able to know when it was coming on, so I could take it back off again. And it's about, like, for me, it took me a long time to be able to find really good strategies for this. It isn't an issue anymore. But if I felt that mask coming up, I'll be like, you are enough. I would just say that to myself, you are enough. And I think with video, the reason why I love live is because you can't retake. So get rid of perfectionism and be okay with being you. We are all unique. And coming from a background in the beauty industry as well, I was never about changing the way someone looked. It was about finding their uniqueness and celebrating it. So if you've got, like, a lot of people are really conscious of their tonality and their voice, and I hear a lot of people say I could never do that. I've got a friend who will not pick up the phone and talk because she's so petrified of the way her voice sounds. And I'm like, really? Like,
wow.
Yeah. But we build these stories up in our mind, and what you may be seeing as being not amazing, that's the reason why other people love you. So being authentic is being you. And you are enough.
I couldn't agree more. Like, it's not the perfect bits that makes us special. It's the dents, it's the imperfections that actually add to the color of our character. If we were perfect, then there'd be a whole lot of bland that comes with it, because you'd just be so predictable in everything that you're doing, right? If everything's perfect all the time, it'd be very predictable and quite dull, to be perfectly frank. And look, this is one of the reasons why I do lives all the time, because I know that what I'm doing now in here and what I say and how I say it and all those sorts of things, there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to hide, and it is just me. And look, I've got a couple of distractions going on in the back, which I will address. I've actually got told to address this like last week, by the way, which I haven't quite got around to yet. But but at the end of the day, it's what's providing that opportunity for people to feel like they can connect. And when it comes to profile videos as well, I mean, the amount of times where you'll just hear the same stuff over and over and over again with a cookie cutter approach done by a videographer that's done a million of them, and there's very little to grab hold of. There's very little tangible evidence to show me as a consumer who you are as an agent, as a professional. When it comes to those profile videos in particular, Jen, because there is obviously that balance of character but also credibility as well, right? You know, is there anything you could mention to Maxine or anybody else? There's a lot of people that are looking at getting a lot of these redone and revamped and all that sort of jazz now. What's this? How can you gauge that sort of balance between, you know, personable and credible when it comes to video content?
Look, I think it depends on where you're wanting to use your video. So if it's strictly on your website, I would probably keep it. And there's a structure that I teach that speaks to all of the different learning styles. And because we all prefer different ways of learning. But what we need to do is be able to connect with a broader audience and also the different personality types. And that can be as simple as the way that you move. It could be as simple as the way your tonality is, and also making sure you're addressing the different, answering their questions. So you speak of the end result.
Now, Maxine's just commented on here saying it looks like they're going to be using them on Facebook and Instagram. So how about these old platforms that we tend to spend all of our time on?
Yeah, I would do more branding than sales videos. So putting out your personality. If you've got a dog, or you love doing something, or you're having a team meeting and you're doing it remotely, do a quick Facebook Live or something like that, showing the team environment and the culture that you've created where you work as well, because those sorts of branding videos go a very, very long way. They can also be great if you're looking at expanding your business. So if you're looking at recruiting, people will go, oh, I would love to work in an environment like that. So all of those sorts of things, get your whole team on board as well. So don't just have one person that's constantly doing it. Get everyone involved and show the holistic approach that your agency can offer that maybe others can't.
I love what you just said then about being an attraction agency to work for as well. That is huge. And one thing that I've mentioned to a couple of people, but I'm really glad that you've highlighted it, Jenny, is a lot of the time real estate businesses, they really quite like to hide who they are to a degree. It's for the concern of dropping that professional guard, right? That professional facade or mask, as you call it, right? And reality is, especially if you're looking at it from a recruitment tool point of view, professionalism, and this is something that's just becoming commonplace now in a lot of workplaces. Professionalism is superseded from a priority point of view by culture. In a big way. And I love what you just mentioned there about, getting your personality out. It's what's going to resonate with people way more than a shiny suit or a secondhand Merc or whatever their case may be. Now, I know that there's a few more people that are here that have watched this that are from regional Victoria. And one of the really cool things that's come through of this pandemic is a lot more attention is being drawn towards regional Vic now, right? And in a good way, a lot more money, a lot more footfall, a lot more positive interest towards the regional areas and what have you. All good stuff as far as I'm concerned. But this is where I think there's going to be a lot more attempts at video content from our regional offices. Now, obviously, metro to regional, and like you said, depending on who you talk to will determine how you perhaps go about this. In terms of identifying, how to talk to your customer base and what have you, how can we as real estate professionals really tune in before we broadcast our message out? How can we best tune into those people so that we know when we're starting to do our video journeys, how can we strike the right chord or give ourselves a high probability?
Well, knowing your audience, knowing your ideal audience. I think your ideal audience. So I always speak to my ideal clients whenever I'm on camera. I'm not speaking to my next door neighbor who might jump on and watch it for 2 minutes. I'm speaking to my ideal clients. And every morning I have a mantra that I say to myself, which is, what value can I add today? So I don't get on video for the sake of getting on video. I get on if I've got a message that I want to share. I was not going to share this, Andy, but I'm having so much fun. Would you like me to share a really simple structure that you can think about for your talking points? This is something that I teach in my paid classes too. So yeah, are you happy to share?
Yes.
I'm happy to share. So there's what's called the format system, and it was created in 1971 by David Kolb, and he had it on 2 polarities. But then Bernice McCartney came and simplified it all, and she worked out that there was 4 preferred learning styles. So we've got the why people. So you need to grab their attention with the why. So you always answer the why to start with. Then you speak to the what, the how people, and the how are the people that need to know the steps. They're like the mechanics that pull things apart and put things back together again. So you've got to give them the steps in the process. And I know the first time I bought a property, I did not know the steps or the process. And it was a lot more challenging. So even just having videos educating your ideal clients on how this is going to work, how you can help them, what steps you're going to take them through is so great. And then you speak about the what if. So it could be, could you imagine the potential of this property? Can you imagine having a block of land that's triple the size of what you're on right now? Can you imagine the lifestyle and the family that you could be creating in this property? And it brings it and it broadens people's way of thinking. So they start to think and imagine themselves living the lifestyle that you're selling them.
I think we were destined for this conversation. I was chatting to the REIV earlier today, and I think the line that I said that until you create some form of emotional attachment, all they are piles of bricks. Now, whether it's an investor and its ego and wallet that you're trying to appeal to, or whether it's young family that are looking to start their new life, those properties mean absolutely squat until there's just a glimmer of an emotional connection to that home. And this is the thing that a lot of people need to get their head around when it comes to video content. Oh man, this is such gold that you're spouting here, Jen, because like a lot of the time these videos are either being used to promote the agent more than the property. I think that line's being crossed a little bit too much at times.
I have seen that.
Yeah, but yeah. And then the other one is it's just an elaborate slideshow with very little sort of beyond the scope of what the property actually is. So I love it. I love that you said that, because that is just so critical moving forward for people. And especially when if we combine the two, you talk about the live virtual inspections that a lot of people are doing recently. How much more important is it to really elaborate on that emotional piece?
Oh, you've got to sell the highlights. And if the place isn't fabulous, you create the story. People attach themselves to story. And there's a training that I do that is specifically for storytelling and metaphor creation, because people are more likely to remember a story. So you're more memorable from telling stories. But also what story does is and this is one thing that I see a lot of people making a mistake with on video. If I'm sitting here going, Andy, I'm really excited to be here, it's not showing that I'm excited. get into the emotional state that you want your audience to feel. And our energy needs to be 2 to 3 levels above. If you're doing an auction and you're like, all right, who wants to place first bid? Come on, be inspiring. Get into the emotion. So, sorry. Woo.
Oh, seriously, I love it.
I'm into the emotion.
But it's so legit though. It's so true. It's at the end of the day, energy breeds energy, activity breeds activity. Whether you're on screen, in person, doing a live feed, ultimately, gang, you've got to actually want to give us stuff about the home that you're in front of. Like, you actually need to give a shit as to what you are in front of. Even if you don't think that it's up to much, you've got to find something to get excited about, because otherwise you're not representing the home or the vendors in any way, shape, or form. You might as well just put it onto sellbyowner.com and let them do it themselves, because that's the whole point of us being around, gang. And when it comes to video content, we have to really invoke emotions in our clients, not in our own bravado and our own ego. It's not what it's there for. Jen, I'll tell you what, we could go on forever and a day. I'm really conscious, though, that you're going to start giving away way more than what you should be doing. All right. So I want you to, give us a bit of an idea as to how we can reach you. You've got a class coming up is it next Wednesday? Is that right?
Yeah, next Wednesday night. So I do run. It's my introductory program, but you learn a hell of a lot more than just introductory. So if you've been doing a lot of videos, and I have had a lot of real estate agents through, and the feedback has been amazing. So it's called Video Success, and I've broken it down over 4 weeks. So we do a Zoom class once a week at the same time every week. This one's an 8 p.m. class. The one in November is a 10 a.m. So I'm trying to make it so it's global friendly. We've had people from all over the world in. But we broke success down to shaking off the nerves. So I think there's 6 different techniques we go into shaking off the nerves. How to understand your audience, because our videos are not about us. They're about who we can help. How to create a scene, how the different categories of videos. So you'll get lots of different ideas. I hear so many people say, I don't have any reason to do a video. You've got thousands. How to engage, how to structure. So you learn 2 pretty cool structures, and then how to sign off. So doing a call to action or the next step. I've got that coming up for the 7th of October. But you can just shoot me an email. It's on Eventbrite, but feel free. I can pop the link in the chat, or
please do.
Send me an email at jent@betheconfidentyou.com.
Be the confident. You'd have thought I'd have prepped this beforehand.com. Jen at betheconfidentyou.com.
Jen T.
Jen T.
That's the one.
At betheconfidentyou.com. I'll leave that on. I'll leave that on the bottom of the screen. I just want to quickly flick a couple of comments your way. Cameron, long time watcher. Annie and Jen, I watched this show most nights, and tonight is the first time I've locked myself in my office and madly been taking notes. Brilliant stuff. Maxine, OMG, yes, love the advice. Look, you're just getting lots and lots of love from the crowd. You really are, Jen. And look, gang, highly recommend you send this individual an email, you connect with her, you find her on the socials and follow her. And I really think you need to be getting onto that class that's starting next Wednesday at 8 p.m.
I've only got 6 spots left. So, but one other thing, Andy, am I able to offer the directors something?
Yeah, go for it.
Are you happy for that? I have done some webinars for real estate agents. talking about my 7 top tips of the aesthetically looking amazing on camera as well. So we go into what you should be wearing and clothes to really avoid because they don't translate well on camera. So if you've got a team that is all wanting to up their confidence and up their presence on video, please do shoot me an email. I'm happy to organise a time to discuss that one-on-one.
You're a star, Jen. You really are. You're an absolute superstar. I can't thank you enough for the time that you've spent with us tonight. I really appreciate it, especially since you've been playing nursey nurse to the boys and had a pretty long day, because I've no doubt you might have had a couple of vinos last night as well. Yep.
No. Maybe,
hey,
yeah.
Look, any last words that you want to say to the gang before I let you go?
Look, if you want to do it, don't please let go of perfection. Just give things a go, even if it's just a quick sharing your why. If you've never done a video before and you share why you do what you do or why you're passionate about what you do, just take that first step and watch it and be proud of yourself for doing that. So wherever you are right now, make sure that you do try new things out, keep growing, because you really deserve it.
What a wonderful way to end the show. Thank you so much for everything that you've been mentioning tonight, Jen. It's been so well received, so much appreciation through the waves, and I'm sure it will continue to be the case. Gang, on behalf of Jen and myself, thank you so much for tuning in, giving us your comments and tips, and giving us all of your love. We really appreciate your time and your attention. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you to Jen. And thank you to her beloved and her boy for letting us borrow it for a few minutes tonight. Gang, I'll be here tomorrow night, as always, 9 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. Please feel free to send me any questions that you've got between now and then. I'm happy to tackle any topics. But from Jen and myself, you guys stay safe, stay healthy. Most importantly, you guys stay happy. Take care, guys.